right, guys, so this is class 3 of the jacket fitting course. It is very involved, and we found some things that were a little bit difficult for us to do. Like I said, this is a level 3. I really think it would be a really good idea, and we're going to try to squeeze it in. So this is how we're going to maneuver it. An actual sample that we will make together that will be your reference. We're not going to rip out or redo what we have done, because as long as the coat or the jacket is falling off of our neckline, okay, we can get the fit accurate. We got to get that sleeve in first. But this will give you an ability to then make this jacket and sew this jacket and have this little reference to go by, if that's okay. Have you guys put the sleeve together, at least sew the sides of the sleeve together? Yes?
No.
Yes?
Yes.
No.
I didn't know.
It says no. Okay. Pieces on the sleeve had to be sewn together. This sleeve here on this side, as well as this side, with the 2 rows of gathers on the cap. That's what we have to do. That's what we had to do. So
I can do that really fast.
well, yeah, okay. I did one sleeve already, and so go ahead and do that. If you haven't, put just those 2 sides. Make sure you have the right side. So the side that has the vent actually, goes with the side with the vent, correct? You have both sleeves in, Susie?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that. Were you able to slip it on at all and get an idea?
Yeah, it's it just feels a little snug.
Feels a little snug, yeah. Okay, where does it feel snug by chance?
Up towards, with the elbow up.
No. It's not going to make sense till that is sewn into the jacket. If we sewn it into the jacket, then we'll worry about that. But is it really tight there? Because I told you our sleeves are pretty narrow.
Yeah, I mean, it works.
Yeah, well, we can definitely add, you know what I'm saying? We can definitely add on that. That's the whole idea. Like I said, this sleeve is super, super narrow, right? We can definitely add on that, and then you can maybe put an adjustment on that and make another sleeve that's a little bit bigger for next week, and we can, see how you like it, kind of thing as well. So that's something you might want to. Bethany, here, just so you know, we have here a 1/2 inch down. If you have to draw it on your muslin, go ahead and draw it. And a 1/2 inch in, like this, is the cross mark where you're going to stop sewing for that vent. And then you just sew.
I was about to ask that.
Yep, you sew there and all the way up, right? Okay. And please go by the notches. Do not go by the end of the sleeve. Go by the notch to notch, because whatever is excess up there, we don't care. We can clip that off. Remember how we clipped that off the pattern? Yeah. So go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Just to note, I have started an extensive sewing of the entire jacket muslin, and I'm not even halfway done, and it's already at an hour. So it's a very massive video, but it'll eventually be put up. But you guys will get a detailed on the lapel that no one else will have. Okay. I'm going to sew this sleeve in. What you can do, Susie, while you're waiting is go ahead and take your jacket, lay it on the table, find the notches, make sure the notches are on your sleeve before you put the gathers, guys, okay, on your cap, so that we can match those notches, and then you can start putting right sides together and try to assemble that and we'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm going to be sewing those two sleeve pieces together, 1/2 inch, back stitch at the top, guys. Stop at that vent area. I'm sewing the other part now.
So you actually turned the corner at the bottom,
There's
or
no
not,
corner to turn.
at the bottom of the sleeve? You
Oh,
just go straight down. Okay, that's what I did at first, but then I was confused.
right here, you need to stop, right? You see where I stopped, right?
I stopped.
But then I see, are you talking about the mitering hem? Mitered
No,
hem?
no, I was talking about that corner. I was confused. I didn't turn the corner.
Okay, yeah, so you just stop at the 1/2 inch here and then a 1/2 inch here, right there and back stitch. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we are going to do this mitered corner as well, because that will give us the proper length. But I want to wait till Bethany's there. I'm gonna go get my ham. I'll be right back. Okay, so you stopped at that particular spot, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now we have to do that mitered hem. Let me go ahead and show you that. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and put my sleeve hem inside, like this. We're gonna open those seams, we're not gonna finish anything. Just open the seams, press them open, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do the other side real quick. You have that far, Susie, correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And all right, I'm gonna go back to the machine. You see the hem? And
Yeah.
one side is cut like this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the mitered hem, guys. That's what gives you, which turns everything up. So you have to take that side that looks funny, that's cut off, like that. And then you want to make it right sides together. I'm on the wrong side of the sleeve. See how I'm on the wrong side of the sleeve? Right sides together, and it makes this mitered hem. When I fold it in half, they meet beautifully. You see that?
Yes.
A mitered hem like that, you fold it. And then that piece right there, you have to sew that at a 1/2 inch, just boom, straight across. And which side are we sewing? We're not sewing the long side. Let's see, this is the long side that's connected to the sleeve. We're sewing the mitered part that connects to the hem, okay? At a 1/2 inch. Are you able to do that?
I think so. Give me a second. Let me.
Make sure you have the right part, not the long part, correct?
Let me iron it first.
Iron you mean the seam allowance open?
The hem.
No, you don't iron the hem at all. I just ironed the seam allowance open, that's all I did. There's nothing else to iron at this point. That makes sense? I'm gonna look at it. So this long side, I'm not touching, it's the folded area connected to the hem I'm bothering with. I'm going 1/2 of an inch right there. Back stitch, you want that secure all the way down. Let me get my glasses because I can't see. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right sides together. The mitered side.
together, 1/2 of an inch, right? We talked about that before in the sewing class, correct?
Yes.
Have some kind of mark on your machine. I have Scotch tape on mine. And then I will look at yours before you trim it, but then you're gonna trim that corner like this, right? Like that. And then I'm gonna trim the rest of this. And then as soon as I do that, and I turn it to the other side, boom, like that, it automatically picks up the hem where it needs to be and does this beautiful little mitered area. I'm putting the butt of my scissor just for that point, but you should use the point turner. But you can see now you have a mitered hem. Now so it automatically brought back the side of that opening as well as the hem with just that one step. See it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing that on both. You want me to check yours?
So,
So good right there?
Beautiful. Okay.
I have that.
Let's see.
clip-
Yep, you clip
Okay.
it and trim it. Go ahead and clip it and trim it. So now when I put it back here on the ironing board, I have this mitered hem, right? Which is nice. And I now have my hem, and what did we say that was supposed to be the other day? Like that. On both sides. And now you've got the hem. So you can turn that up. You can go ahead and press it. Press that corner. Like that. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to make sure that the other side is equal and not hiking down like it is right now. Okay, I'm going to hike it up a little bit. Make sure that the measurement is good. So go ahead and press that hem up. We're not going to get fancy. Okay, if you want to put your sleeve hem in, do so, or your paper towel trick that I've showed, whatever works for your sleeve. Yeah. And then while you're at the machine, go ahead and here should have the center notch. The center notch is there. You should have a double notch up. These didn't get clipped in, but they're marked. Let's go ahead and clip them. Clip for the back notches. And then there should be a clip for the front notch, okay? On the front, I'm going to turn this sleeve over to the front, to the right side. And you have this beautiful folded area here now.
That was the-
For the hem of the sleeve, right?
Mm.
Isn't that great? You've got where your buttons and your buttonholes will be here, and then the buttons will be underneath there, like that. And there's your placket. Now, from the double notch here, all the way around the cap, to a little bit past the single notch on this side, because I think that might be off, at 1/2 of an inch with a gathering stitch. I would use no bigger than a 4, guys. Do 2 rows, 1/2 of an inch, and then one inside of that, so 1/4 of an inch, okay?
With how, does that have to be a regular stitch? You
No,
said,
this is a gathering stitch. We're trying to mold and pull. This is the gathering stitch that we're gonna put on the sleeve to get on the jacket for the arm. But I don't want you to use the biggest stitch, like a 5. I
uh-huh,
would like you to use a smaller stitch, like maybe a 4 or 4.5. That makes
Okay.
sense?
yes.
Okay. Let's go back there.
Since I already did mine, I went notch to notch.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Maybe I think yeah, it's fine. I just ironed it wrong, but it's fine.
Let me see what you did here. Let's look at yours real quick.
So to iron it straight across.
There you
No.
go. Yep. That's it. No, the other side just goes inside. You have to have a flap in order to put buttonholes in buttons.
So
Oh,
it
don't fold that back.
no.
Keep it straight out.
So eventually to finish it, you just need to
The binding will be on there if you're making an actual garment, and that'll clean it, and then that goes on top of that guy.
oh, okay. I got it.
Got it? Yep. Okay. You're there, Susie?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't see even a picture at this point.
Oh, let's see. There we go.
Susie as well.
I see. Okay. I pulled the gathers a little bit last night, so.
We are just molding, so there'll be very little gathers, hopefully, that are needed. So I have the sleeve here. I want you to note something. Look at mine. It does look a little strange here in the back. It kind of like hikes up. Remember where those two meet? That's okay. We want that. That gives us the allowance of the arm going forward. So we don't mind that. We're not going to adjust that. I went ahead and did my 2 rows, from there. Okay. Then I'm going to go inside and take the, oh, I don't know where that one's coming from. Oh, that's from that side. Okay. Let's go ahead and flip that guy out. So I'm taking the bobbin threads, my top threads are pink, so I'm taking my bobbin threads, both of them together at the same time, and I'm going to gently move some gathers or folding all the way up over that seam allowance. So it's going to be a little tricky. It's going to fight you. It's not going to like it as much as you can to the top of that sleeve where the notch is at the center of the sleeve on one side like that. And then you want to do the same process on the other side. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm taking only the bobbin threads. Do not take a top thread and a bobbin thread. It will lock and you will not be able to do this process. This is typical easing. So we're just going to ease the other side as well and push it towards the cap of the sleeve. Just easing so gently, right? Like that. And make sure your notches are in because we can't find that later, okay? And then I'm gonna go to the, let's get that guy back on there. Then I'm gonna go to the iron real quick. And like I said, this is not a gathering situation. This is an easing situation and a molding situation. On jackets, we do not gather. I'm gonna put my sleeve hem inside the sleeve like that. And then at the cap of the sleeve, you can see that it may have to be adjusted more, but I just want to kind of use my steam iron and absorb some of that excess by shrinking it slightly with the iron and the steam. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply my steam to the area that is not here, not this side, but the seam allowance and where the gathers are. Hopefully this steam iron will cooperate. And I just have it molded there on my ham. This is all techniques. And I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little press. We're hopefully going to have less than that in the final analysis, but I'm just trying to steam. What you want to do is you don't want to see any gathers at all in the sewing process. It should be a smooth transition into this jacket, okay? You guys use different lines, so it could be if you don't cut on the same line, or even the cutting process could change everything. Okay, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of steam. I got molding going on there. You can use your steam just to go over that, and that's it. All right, we got that?
Got it.
Okay, let's move along. So now we're going to put this sleeve into the jacket, okay? I'm not really sure what went on. Like I said, I found this pattern and I'm not sure if this is the original one or not. As far as notches go, we will just accommodate. I started to pin this side in and I noticed that the center notch and the back notches were proper, but I'm not sure about the front notch. So the whole reason why I wanted to wait for the class to do this, guys, is because the sleeve has to be just right. And not only that, the sleeve on a jacket needs, unlike a dress or a blouse, needs to kind of almost hike slightly forward. That's what we want to get. That's what we want to attempt. So you have to make sure and you have the right sleeve and you have the right side. I don't know if I told you in the class, but when you're working with muslin, you see here, I have little R's. We talked about this when we did the sewing project, and I just want you to remember some of these steps and just continue with them. If you're working with fabric like this that looks the same on both sides, and especially if it's a sample or a mock-up, you want to just put an R or something so you know the right side, because I don't want two left sleeves being sewn into this and then you're telling me it doesn't fit, okay? So you have to have a right sleeve and a left sleeve, okay? So now I'm going to put my right sleeve in. I've got my jacket here, and then I'm pushing it to the inside like this. And then I'm taking my sleeve that is on the right side still, when I'm going to sandwich this guy inside so that I will have right sides together, okay? I'm going to look for, because I already know my back notches should be pretty good. I'm finding my back notches here. These are marked but not clipped, so let's clip those little guys. Okay, so I have my back notches clipped. I have my back notches clipped on my sleeve. I'm going to put those guys together for the moment. And I'm going to put a pin. And this is where it might need adjustment, but I want you to find the center of that notch. This is the center of the shoulder, right? The shoulder seam. And then the center notch of your jacket sleeve. And then I want you to match those guys together like that. And then you can put a pin going this way, okay? As you can see, it doesn't want that many gathers. Awesome, we don't want that. So I'm going to loosen some of those, some of that easing to fit the area. You guys should have very little as well. You should not have anything at all, okay? And then I'm just going to make it fit from there to there. And I'm going to put pins in this way, up and down, so that we can sew it that way, okay? And I want you to do the pins from the inside where the double stitching is, okay? Is that making sense? And then wherever that front notch wants to be, because I don't know, it didn't, oh yeah, I guess it is lining up. It is lining up. The other one maybe is not. It's also lining up fine. Yep, right there. Just a little off, but that's okay because we want to move the sleeve possibly towards the back. So we're following the notches at the moment, but we're probably going to ignore some of the notches in a minute, okay? Okay. And then wherever the rest of it wants to go, go. Do not try to make these seams match. Remember we talked about that over and over again? These other seams will not match underneath the arm, okay? From the jacket or the sleeve. Wherever it wants to go from there is where it goes. Don't try to stretch it. Let me know if there is an issue, because if there is an issue, this is where we can address it and make notes to fix the pattern, okay? Actually, my bad. I want you to pin it not, I want you to pin it this way as if you're sewing, because we're going to try it on the dress form for a minute. So I want you to pin it not sideways, but as you would be sewing a line. Pin it that way, please.
The only thing you're matching is the notch, the back and front, right, notch, not the seams and the top.
Yep. Just the notches. And then let the rest of it fall where it may. Pin it up and down like this, as if you're sewing that line right on the gather and stitch. Go ahead and do that on both sleeves. And you don't want any gather. See how I'm pushing any of that excess to almost nothing, right? Inside. Take it off this one. Make sure all of your seams are open inside the jacket as well as on the sleeve. And nothing is flipped over. I want the pins on the gathered side.
Not having the seams match just feels weird.
It does. It does. But what you need to be doing now on is when you go to stores, look for jackets in stores, examine stuff, start looking at clothing. You're in the field of fashion design at this point. You need to be a explorer and learn and curious. So whatever you're in a store, wherever you see a jacket, look at it. Okay, you can put as many pins as you'd like.
Trying to-
Once you have that on both sleeves like this, we're gonna kind of look at it on our dress form.
It's pretty close, but I'm not sure if it's because I have too much, like there's a gather here or there. There's just a couple little areas that are,
Let's look, jacket, right? So take out all your E's and then smooth that. Just making sure at this point, Susie, that the center of your sleeve is in the center, because that's what we're trying to establish.
ouch. Okay.
Then go ahead and show me when you get it, okay? And let's see how you're doing, Bethany.
there was too much fabric on one side and it wasn't working, so I redoing it really quick.
Okay. You guys have your shoulder pads nearby as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is the shoulder pad that I recommended. It's just a covered basic 1/2 inch in girth shoulder pad, but we'll go over that. You know? With.
I've got, so mine fixed with doing what you said. Mine is fitting.
Awesome, Susie. Nice.
So I
Okay.
have one notch here.
I want the center notch on the shoulder seam. Where's your center notch on your jacket sleeve? Is it on the shoulder seam?
I probably should just take it out and start over again.
Okay.
So go ahead and start the other side.
Yeah, turn it over, Susie. I want to make sure that you've got the right sleeve in the right place. So, let me see. You've got the placket on the sleeve, in the back part of the jacket, correct?
Yes. The line is, yeah, it looks,
The line is in the back. The placket is in the back, correct?
yes.
Awesome. And it's okay. Okay, go ahead and do the other side. It's looking good.
Okay, so, all right.
Start off with the center notch so you don't get confused with those notches, Bethany. To the shoulder seam. Yes. Pin that first.
Okay, so
Placement, and sleeve sewing, besides the lapel and the collar, of course, will differentiate a home sewing garment with a professional garment. So knowing how to put the sleeve in and the collar will basically define how professional your garment will look. Not to mention buttonholes, right, Bethany? If we don't have a nice buttonhole,
Yeah, it ruins the whole thing.
ruins the whole garment. That's why everybody's so afraid of them.
I have to learn.
Yeah. That's why on the silk jacket, before I got the home sewing machine I did not have a buttonhole machine that did any buttonholes at all. And then I bought that cheap one, but hopefully we will be able to invest in the proper one.
So the home sewing button maker is not exactly the ideal.
No, it's fine if you have a good one.
Yeah.
If you have one that does a pretty decent one, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. On jackets though, it's really nice to be able to get a keyhole, buttonhole on there. And that's, most of the basic machines don't even have that adjustment for you to get one.
I think mine might. I think mine does. I have a super duper Bernina.
Yeah, that's, yes, I miss my Viking. Is it fitting, Bethany?
Kind of, I think.
What do we have going on here? Let me see yours. I'm going to put you as a spotlight. I want to see what's going on. Okay.
There it is.
Oh, we got the top notch right in the right spot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fitting all the way around, and you've got the double notches working.
Okay, that's working better. The part that's not fitting is this bottom part.
Okay. Just smooth the rest of it around. Just smooth it down. So remove all the gathers, and smooth down. So you're saying the top notch is fitting and then the double notch are in the right spot?
But these are all fitting. It's just right here.
Then there was a problem with the size and the cutting. Remember how you adjusted one?
So, for example, this will work, this will work.
Okay.
It's not that bad, but it's like maybe like half an inch
No,
off.
it shouldn't be anything down there. Shouldn't be anything off down there. And that has to do with getting the proper line underneath the arm on the jacket with the proper line in the underarm of the sleeve. If those pattern pieces weren't cut in the right spot, then none of this will be kosher. Right? So that's something I'd have to check. If you're on the same lines, like if you're on the black lines, I think we wanted you to be wider underneath the arm, correct? You needed that fullness for your arm.
Yes.
So we added extra for your sleeve. If we added extra to your sleeve sews into what?
To the armhole?
Yes, so if the sleeve is sewn into the armhole, this has to equal this. So whatever you added on your sleeve, it has to be also added on the armhole. So that's where the discrepancy can happen. All right. But let me see. I think you might have been right because I think I watched pretty much every step you did on the pattern. So let's see. Just adjust it where it wants to go. As long as the center notch is where the center notch is, pin on the inside where the gathers are. Okay? And straight up and down like you're sewing it. Yep, at the half-inch seam allowance. Let it go where it wants to go. I'm just curious if it'll fit. Okay?
Okay.
Let it fit where it wants. If you have a little, it looks like you have a little tag there. Was that an extra bit there on that? You cut that off? What's that little extra bit going on?
This?
Yes.
That's the fold of this.
Okay, so just trim that. Okay, why is it not sewn all the way up, Bethany?
Oh,
It's got to sew all the way up.
okay.
Yep. And it's got to be a half of an inch. If it's not a half of an inch, it's not going to fit. That looks less than a half of an inch. to me, but I can't measure it.
Let me.
Check that and then sew it all the way up, please. I don't know what this much is. Let's look. It's about like where we want.
So it all fits around, and I have that left.
Is that on the sleeve or on the armhole?
The sleeve.
Okay, so did you put your gathering stitch all the way to far enough down?
Maybe I should have gone farther down. I did it to the notch.
Which notch is that? Are we talking?
To the last notch. So the last notch is there.
Yeah, I'd like to go a little bit past it, but gather up, forget where those notches are because the notches are not lining up, it looks like. Take out that pin. And then push it up and then maybe ease the sleeve a little bit more. Yeah. And see how that fits now. And then we're going to carry it on to the
Okay.
pinning.
Okay.
Is it fitting now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So now we're gonna get, you've got to find your shoulder pads real quick.
Okay.
So we want this to go forward as much as possible. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and pin my overlap here in the front. This dress form is a little bit smaller. I'm just going to go ahead and pin those little guys together. And I want to analyze to see if this is fitting the way it should fit. So here's your back seam on your sleeve, which is really nice. Here's where your little placket is. It's on the back. And generally it's doing okay. And this is where we're going to analyze whether if I want to make it go hiking more forward. We don't want it to be extremely forward, right? Right now it's exactly where my notches are. But if I want to make it go forward a little bit more, see if I saw I hike this like that, then I'm going to have to move that center notch slightly to the back and rearrange the sleeve. Okay, so let's analyze that if we want to do that. And then you can go ahead and base that in, probably, I would say base that in at break. We'll base it in, then you can sew it in at the break, okay? Get yours on the dress form. And then I can analyze it. Make sure you pin the front, make sure that you've got the lapels where they need to be. And this is folded where it needs to be here on the bottom facing.
All right.
Go ahead and look, make you a pin. Okay, can you go further back so I can see the bottom where the sleeve is ending for me? Because that's huge. Okay, and that has to be folded up. So if you want to go ahead and pin that up, that might help. And what's going on underneath the jacket? Why is it not laying properly? The jacket itself. What's going on? Okay. You've got it pinned in the center?
Yes.
Okay. Is it going towards the front or is it hiking towards the back?
I think it's going more towards the back.
Yep, I see that. Yep. We're gonna have to move yours a little bit, okay? And how's the other one doing? You only have one in pinned?
I only made one.
Okay, because yeah, whatever you do on one, you have to do on the other, Bethany, and that's why I wanted you to do it at the same time. Okay, so we're going to have to make a mental note to move your center seam notch more towards the back to hike that sleeve forward slightly, okay? But can you flatten it for me so I can see if it's going to perform nice in that respect? And are you getting a nice little elbow thingy going on here? Yeah, that's all for me nice.
I
Okay.
don't see.
That's your back seam. You've got your placket back here, correct? Your placket is in the back of your jacket.
Yes. It's right here.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Yours is hiking almost too forward. What's going on with that? How is it smooth on the arm? You have it pinned properly in the front? No, that's not where it's pinned. You're making two pins
I mean here.
right here, overlapping it at your waist, and then 2 inches above your waist.
Okay. That's the left side.
Okay.
This is the right side.
Right side is falling nice. So it could be just the way you pinned the left side. The right side is perfect. Okay. So you want to just make sure that those,
Might be that wait. Pull it up.
no.
Yeah, okay.
It could be that, you're broader than the dress form or something like that.
If I, no.
The other side is nice. Let me see that again. The other side that's nice. So just copy whatever you did on that side. That's really good. Okay, Bethany, let me see what's going on with yours. It's hiking to the back.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so we're gonna take it off. We have to move. Now watch before you do it, watch what I'm doing. I'm gonna open these guys up because I know you're not gonna be able to figure it out when it's flat. So watch what I'm doing. I want to hike mine towards the front a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead, open it up inside. I pin my shoulder pads right to the dress form like this while I'm working on my jacket. I just go ahead and do that and leave it like that. You can take it off later at the fitting. I'm going to take off the pins here
Yikes.
at the top notch. I'm going to go and open it up again. And I'm going to make a note here. This is where my notch is, where my shoulder is. Move that center notch on my sleeve to the back. So I'm going to move it this way, whatever it needs. If it needs a half of an inch to make it hike, we don't want to make an extreme hike, but we want it to hike forward, then that's where you need it to be. Go ahead and put that on the outside and pin it like that at the shoulder on the outside. So when we lay this flat, you don't get confused, okay? Nothing else has moved. I just took the center area out, made the center notch go slightly to the back. Susie, you do not have to do it. Yours is already doing it. The side that is not right though, Susie, do this to the side that is not right. That makes sense?
The right side. This side, yeah.
Whatever side is not right.
Okay.
Just at the center, just at the shoulder mark, okay? And check it on, oh, you only did one arm, right, Bethany?
Yeah, I'm working on the second one right here.
But put the pin on the outside at this point. Don't try to manipulate it inside. It's too difficult. We'll get it on the flat inside, if you don't mind. Yeah.
So we wanted to go this way, right?
You want it to go, you want the sleeve to hike forward slightly.
So we're doing the notch back. So
Yeah,
that's
yes, you got it. Now that's hiking forward, Susie, nicely. Yep.
how much do you think I should put it back?
No more than a half of an inch. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, see how yours is hiking forward now, Bethany?
Yes, a little better.
Okay, good. Okay, awesome. So we just have that one as a guide. With that one as a guide, I wouldn't go many more than that. It could be just the way you did, way you sewed everything. You have to be very precise with this and be very mindful. When you have that one, just go ahead and go on the table, take it off, put it on the table. Okay, I got it on the table. All right, so that is my guide. Get a red marker out, go ahead at the center of that sleeve where the shoulder seam is, and your red marker, carry the notch over to the sleeve itself like that. Can you see it?
Oh.
Yeah? Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That way, when I take it off, I'm not going to get confused. I'm going to know that that is where my new center is. I undid the sleeve, and this is where the notch was, right over here. And this is where my new notch is for my center, okay? And put it in red marker, some kind of marker, because we're going to have to transfer this to your pattern, okay? Mine is about,
Wait,
mine is just a quarter of an inch off. How's your? And then while it's still attached everywhere else, have it on the table. You have yours on the table, Susie. Look at what I'm doing. I have it on the table. That center has been undone. I'm going to push it back inside like this. So I don't get confused. I'm not changing. I'm going to go ahead and take that red mark with the center of my shoulder and my new notch on my sleeve, match those guys up, and then readjust this entire sleeve to accommodate that. If you have to take every pin out and just slightly move it, then go ahead and do that. If it's just a few pins and it might have been, my situation is, looks like it's just the gathering that needs to be let out more on mine, correct? And go ahead and adjust it, putting the pins again still at the gathered area. Adjusting it so it fits. They have to be completely kosher, meaning not one side has to should bubble. It should be flat and fit in there perfect. So adjust every single pin so that it adjusts perfectly. Okay? I'm taking out every pin and readjusting. And now that's one armhole. You have to make a mental note on the second one and do it immediately. So I already know that I pushed my center of my sleeve a 1/4 of an inch back on that one armhole. I'm going to go directly to the other armhole. And I'm going to take out those pins at the cap. Find my center notch, right? And move that also a 1/4 of an inch. Make sure you go in the right direction when you do that, whether it's forward or back. If we want the sleeve to go forward like this, we're moving that notch back towards the back, right? So if this is where it was, the center notch is here, well, originally, and I want the sleeve to hike forward, I'm going to go a 1/4 of an inch from the front because I'm going to move that towards the back. Does that make sense?
Nope. You're only moving the notch from the sleeve, not the center seam. Right?
We're adjusting the sleeve.
So you only move the notch. For me, it's a 1/4 inch back.
Is yours a 1/4 of an inch too? Because mine's a 1/4. I don't know what yours is.
It's about a 1/4 inch.
Okay, that's all it should be. That I wouldn't do much more than that. That's why I told Bethany not to do more than a 1/2 of an inch. Generally, the sleeve you don't want to hike it anymore. And get that placed in the right spot, and then readjust all the other pins as needed. Okay? Once you've readjusted all of that again, I want you to quickly put it on the dress form and check it before we baste it, okay? So once I've adjusted every single pin, you got to get both sleeves in before we can actually do a fitting on you, Bethany. So you're going to have to hike it up there. Speed it up there. All right. And once I have readjusted them, I'm going to put it back on my dress form. My shoulder pads have been pinned to my dress form, so it's making it easy for me. I'll take it off when I'm doing the fitting and actually put it on the garment then. Okay. And the armhole is bigger too, so that's to accommodate your outer garment situation. And now they're just wanting to fall beautifully forward. Make sure also when you put it back on your dress form, you've got your collar hiked up properly, your lapel is folded. And this is a smaller dress form. The other dress form is there. Should probably put it on that. Make sure you put the first pin will be at the waist level, and you're only going to fold over about 3/4 of an inch. I'm folding over more right now because this is a smaller dress form. And then about 2 inches above that is the second button that goes just like that. Okay. And then you want to flatten the sleeve. Make sure it's on there properly. And that is hiking forward.
Oh, looks better.
Do you see a difference at all?
I do.
Okay. Just a slight difference makes a huge difference. I'm already seeing a difference on yours, Bethany. It's starting to fall in the right spot. Good job. Very good. That's excellent. How are you doing, Bethany? You got it on both sides that way where it's working both sides, Susie?
During break, I need to do this side because I think it needs to be forward more.
It's got to be the same as the other side. Don't try to, don't make it asymmetrical. Whatever you did on one side, do it to the other side. It's just, you're better off that way.
Actually, you said it looks good, so it looks good.
Looks good. Yeah, Bethany, can I see yours? I think it's looking good, Bethany. Let's see. Can I see more of a side angle to it? Yeah. No, just move your mannequin sideways a little bit. Okay. And then you flatten your sleeve like this because it seems to want to bubble. Just go like this, like you're ironing it. No, just with your hand, your palm going. Yeah. Very good. I think that's forward enough.
It's a little bit wrinkly, so maybe that probably has to do something with it too.
And you got it. Is it on your center notch at this point?
Yes.
Okay, then you could have gone a little bit more if you'd like, because you didn't really adjust yours. You just put it in the right spot, so to speak. But I think you're okay. I think you're okay if you're going to follow that notch. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly base that armhole, and then in the break, I'd like you to, well, you could sew it if you'd like at that point during the break, because that's going to have to be done, as well as all the hem has to be done. And this hem sleeve has to be done before next week. Okay.
So sew in.
What I'm going to do here is I already have some thread, get a contrasting color. I got red here. So you don't get confused. Go ahead and base that entire armhole, so just start at one point, do a basting stitch, which is just a up and down stitch, just a simple up and down stitch like that. Have a knot at the end and baste the armhole. Okay, baste it nice because I don't want it to move on you, and I want this to be so you don't forget when you're getting ready to sew it. Okay. So I'm just going up and down. You can make it as close as you'd like, whatever will assist you in your sewing process. Remember to only take your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Do not do less or do not do more. This is for a fit. You have to be accurate with this sewing. It with your hands to make sure that doesn't move. Go ahead and do that. And then continue to baste. Okay. Do not clip the excess after you sew it. Do not try to finish the excess. Do not clip it. Okay? What did I say, guys?
Not clip the excess.
Do not put a double stitch. Do not clip it. This is a fitting. We're going to be taking this little guy apart, possibly. We do not want anything to hinder what we're doing, okay? Here, see how mine is pressed up on the sleeve? Because we need to know the exact, right? We're checking length, right? So that has to be also, just want to make sure I press this properly. This will fold a good amount. I think probably 1 3/4 over. So you might want to put like a little mark here. I'm doing the cuff now, right? The bottom of the sleeve, about 1 3/4. And when I get the 1 3/4, make sure that it's folded up See how I have folded up? Mine pressed really nicely, but I want you to literally take a needle and thread and you're basting that hem.
Base the hem up 1 3/4.
Yeah. Yes, 1 3/4, yes. So then I'm going to take my basting thread like this. And I'm going to, from the mitered edge, like this, inside, about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. I'm going to go ahead and do a basting to hold that sleeve up, or that cuff up, whatever you want to say. So I'm just going to do a basting like this. All the way across. That's my makeshift hemming at the moment for our fitting, okay? And it's nothing here on the other edge. Just leave it raw. Like that. And I'm not being any particular. And then I'm going to get here at the end. I'm going to, you don't want to fall apart. So I'm just going to go back stitch it a little bit, back stitch a little bit. I'm actually not going to tie a knot at the end, just back stitch it twice. It should stay in there nicely because that's all we want to do. And that's to hold our sleeve in place like that. You guys can see that?
Yes.
Nice.
And then also, I know that you got, I mean, the collar might not have been kosher, but this I'm sure sewed in properly, right? So whatever that is going to have to hike up now. You're going to have to measure. I believe it's going to be the same. I think it's going to be 1 3/4 there as well. So wherever this ends here, you're going to go ahead and measure up 1 3/4, put pins up and down, all the way on this hem, 1 3/4. You can lightly press it, but you're going to go ahead and do that same basting, 1/4 of an inch from the raw edge, all the way to the raw edge. One and 3/4. Okay. And obviously the vent in the back has to be the same fold up as the other side. So make sure when you're folding it up that they are the same, okay? I'm going to fold this up first like this and measure it, steam it down, and then I'll show you how we fold it, okay? So I'm doing the whole hem all the way to the curved part of the front lapel, 1 3/4. You have to make sure that where the vent is, see my vent here? And when I folded it up, that vent, when that's folded back, is okay. Okay. Matches. Then we're just gonna kind of give it a little bit of a steam on the outside. As soon as the steam decides to come on. The beauty of working with 100% cotton muslin is that it will accommodate a little bit of the shrinkage or the molding that needs to happen, like a wool would be or a linen would be when you're making this final garment. And there's my cuff. It's already been pressed. This is a turner that we're going to use for collars and stuff. It's out of like a balsa wood. It's awesome. I mean, I don't have a lot of gadgets. I'm pretty old school, use basic stuff, but there are certain things that are necessary, and that's kind of one of them to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got that press there. Just doesn't want to perform for me nicely. Let's go ahead and press them. Yep.
My armhole is sewn and my sleeve is sewn. I'm working on
The sleeve has to be sewn in. All the basting of the hems have to be put in. And
For homework, not over break, just
Yeah.
to sleep.
Yep. For homework, all that has to be done. I was kind of hoping to start some of I wanted to actually just see it on you real roughly. That's why I was hoping you would get the armhole in. Yeah. I would rather you actually sew that in before you try it on because
No, it's sewn in.
hand sewn in, but I mean
Yes.
machine.
Oh, machine sewn in.
Yeah. So I'm going in again, guys. And I'm going a quarter of an inch from the edge. I'm continuing my hem. So this is what we're going to do, for homework. And I will see you in, I guess, a half an hour.
So
Yeah.
you want this to be done by the time we get back in?
I want you to have at least the armhole sewn in by the beginning of the break. Okay?
By machine.
On the machine. Because I kind of want a sneak peek of where I want to see where I need to go and how much time we need, because if it's really off,
Okay.
you might have to, 86 the collar situation. If it's, but if it's not too bad and I know it's feasible and we're going to be able to do it all on our last class, then we can go ahead and do the demo, okay? On the collar and the lapel. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I'm gonna go have lunch. Thanks.
All right, guys, we'll see you in a half.
I finished putting it together. I'm working on getting.
Okay, yeah, because I think it probably won't fall right if we don't have at least both sleeves in.
As far as pinning them,
Yep. As long as you're okay with it being put on with pins.
I could base it fast.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
Bethany, real quick.
I'm working on it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're gonna need both your sleeves in, or we're not gonna get a true idea what's going on with you, Bethany, so yeah. Note, you can see when you pull up the hem that it slightly, needs to be eased at the top part, right?
Yeah.
Keep that in mind when you're putting binding. You do have to kind of ease it in there at the hem because it is slightly curved. That's another technique that can be addressed. So it doesn't cause any puckering. Okay. What I'm doing right now, the basting thread is hindering.
Oh. That doesn't look too bad.
You want it nicely folded on the front. Just pull that guy out. When you put it on the dress form, make sure you put those pins in the front again. Get your lapel. start at the waist level to put your pins. So the shoulder pads, you get it like this, folded in half. You know that this side is where the armhole is. You want to put that at the half of an inch, exactly where the half of an inch is, because you want it to extend past the shoulder a half of an inch where the seam allowance is. Then what you're doing is you can just pin it on the right side at the shoulder, or you can baste it. If here, I'm just going to put a pin, boom, because we can adjust this shoulder pad. We might need to. So I'm just going to put a pin on the outside like that.
Okay.
But it has to be inside of the facing. Open your facing. It's got to be in the inside of the facing, right? Not on the top. And then same thing with the other side. You want it to extend.
Half inch, at the half inch mark.
Well, wherever the seam allowance edge is, just where that is,
Oh, yeah.
half of an inch, right? So then you're just making it extend. You're opening up where your facing is, just like this. You put the center there, turn it to the front, and just stick a big old pin there just to hold it in.
So you don't have any pins on the inside?
No, just one pin on the outside, holding it at the shoulder like that.
Okay.
All right, so we have it on getting it on the dress form. How you doing, Bethany?
Last couple stitches.
Okay. Okay. You got both of them on, Bethany?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. It's not double breasted, so we're not flapping it over that much. You have 3/4 of an inch. Look what I did here on the front. I took my ruler and I only did about 3/4. If you're gonna have like a 7/8 inch button, which is what I have on my designer one, you can put like an inch the most at the center parallel and draw a line. And then that will be your mark to overlap your other side to pin, okay?
3/4.
Depends on the size of the button. 3/4 would be more for a 5/8 or a 3/4 inch button. 1 inch would be for a 7/8 inch button.
I'm gonna do so.
Technically, I was going to have you put a button in buttonhole for next week so we can get a more accurate just any generic button, and you know what I mean? But it has to be at least a 3/4 of an inch button if you're able to do that.
On the dress form.
Yeah. How does that feel?
I think it feels good. It's good.
Huge accomplishment, right? A lot of information. Bethany, look what I'm doing here. Pull the collar towards the front. In other words, make sure that the collar in the back is hitting very, very snug against the back of your neck. So you're hiking it, yeah, forward.
Yeah, I see.
Yep,
Like that.
yep. And it opens quite low, unless you want to put a ton of buttons in if you can get away with it. But you start with that first button at waist level across. See my finger?
It's right
And
here.
then 2 inches above that is the second button. And then the lapel sort of opens from there. That's how this is designed. And if it fits and you're able to put a third button, that's, we can see, but that's not the way it's been designed. Yeah.
Oh,
Then you can open up your lapel completely from there. Yeah, there you go. Like a jacket. There you go. There should be a space there at the bust area. Yep, that's normal. What you got going on? Yep. Awesome. Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but I think it's because I don't have that little thingy to push them all the way out.
Oh, yeah, we're not worried about all those things. We're not
I
worried about that. Yeah, yeah. But let me see, make it go forward. I'd like to do a little first trial screenshot if we can. You want to get it in the front like that?
it's not. It's
Okay.
like I don't know. It's like it needs to be like this.
Well, you got to push the facing inside. That's okay. You did not do something very important on your collar, and I'll explain that in a minute, but that's okay. We'll do a screenshot with the sleeves going forward like that, and then we'll do one with it forward. Then we're gonna try on this little guy. I'm gonna talk about the collar real quick, and then we're gonna try it on real quick, okay? So we got one on the side, beautiful, Susie, turn it to the side. Yeah. Can you, oh, that looks good. Okay, lower it a little bit. There you go. Yep. Okay, here we go. Let me just do a shot. Okay. Nice. Okay, now let's do one to the front. Yeah, turn it more to the front. Okay. And then let me do one. Okay, thank you guys. So, it's a peak lapel. And I'm going to show you on the flat in a minute. But the reason why it's a peak lapel is because see how these two guys meet?
Yeah,
See how they're meeting?
yeah.
Let me, I can pull it up a little bit. But they should meet like that. That's
Find it.
considered a peak lapel. And that means when you're sewing the collar, Bethany, I think this is one of the things you might have made a mistake with. You're sewing the collar here, and then there's this like separate section to the pattern. See this little section here?
Yeah, yeah.
That it has to pivot. That's what is here that pivots to here. And that's what makes this shape here that forces the collar to make a peak. And I think you did not pivot it. That's why you have this released collar basically from here all the way out, right? So you have this big collar. You don't really, so you did not get the peak on that. As far as as
Mine
far as you go,
is off on this. I mean, it's more of a V.
yeah, I think you did not do the same thing. And I have
I
to,
kind of have it, but it's like rounded.
well, it's not a round. It's a sharp pivot. It's boom, boom.
That's
So
what I had. I had trouble pivoting on that round edge.
yeah. So from here is a pivot to go this way, and then this two shapes should kiss.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I'll show you that on the flat, okay, guys? So don't worry about that. But I think that's what's going on. So now let's try on.
No.
Yep, just a little light trying on. Your pins on your shoulder pad should stay in place. Hopefully you won't get stuck. Let's see if we can try this sucker on. Gently.
I didn't put the shoulder pads in.
You got to stick those in. Move your facing around your neck. Yeah. And try to go back as far as I can. Let's see if I can get a better angle. High up on your neck. You're wearing kind of a bulky top.
I think I should put a sleeveless.
No,
Yeah.
I think you're fine, Susie, because what are you gonna wear underneath this?
I wouldn't layer it, so either just a light t-shirt.
Okay. Do you want to slip something like that on real quick?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Oh, we're just doing a quickie here. Yeah, that looks pretty thin. So then you see I have my line, right? So I want to go over there, find my waist. We're gonna have to use safety pins next week, okay? So this stays in place. I'm gonna put one here at the waist. Then I'm gonna try to sneak another guy here. So that you have it like that. Yeah.
don't want to. Sure.
So it's fitting you better than it's fitting the dress form. That's a good sign, Bethany.
Yes.
But you've got a pretty bulky thing underneath it. But other than that, you would have to do the fitting. You're going to have a tight t-shirt next week, okay? For the fitting?
I don't think it looks too bad.
Yeah.
This
And
is
then
this is without the shoulder pads.
you got to put them in. Wear your shoulder pads. Why you step behind the whole day? You got to be not. Because we have to know what we have to add.
I don't think I've ever worn a jacket with shoulder pads before.
Well, yeah, but jackets still have it. This is the smallest shoulder pad that I can give you guys. It's made to accommodate that, so we are not going to redesign it. Okay?
Wait, sit back.
And if you put shoulder pads in the right way, it doesn't make you look broader. It just makes you look smooth, guys. You know what I'm saying?
You like this?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think I like it. I'm not used to wearing such snug clothing.
Yeah, yeah, I told you, you don't want to, you have some room back here, but you don't want a lot. Because I can give you a lot, and then it's going to be all this extra fabric. You're not going to like it, okay? Beth, bring it up to your neck like this. Pull it up so it hugs the back of your neck. Make sure your collar is folded back in the back.
Oh,
Yep. Bring it forward, Susie. Even you, I don't think it's forward enough on the neck. Is it forward enough on the neck? Yeah, is it folded underneath there? Good job. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
that feels better actually.
There you go. There you go. It's hard. I mean, when I put this jacket on, it's always a little bit of a trick because it's pretty slim, right? But it's a jacket, you know what I mean? It's not
I mean, it's made for my body, so.
yeah. I see that. So the sleeves fit you. We could go out further. We could give you more room on the armholes and the sleeves, but I kind of like it. It's up to you if you're not used to it. You know, we just don't want it to be sloppy, but we can give more, a little bit more. Wouldn't hurt, you know? It's up to you on that. And then this has to be folded up. Yeah.
Oh, the sleeves are a good length.
The sleeves are, so when you got the sleeve on, I don't know why this is not going back far enough. So when you got the sleeve on, guys, and you go up like this with your arm, I took mine up a lot because I have short arms, right? It's still good, right? It's still covering that bone.
Yeah, mine's perfect.
Yeah, good job. So you have to have the shoulder pad in order to make sure that's right. Okay. How you doing? I don't know because you got this all flapping out.
See?
Yeah.
I keep on putting it up and it keeps on going down.
Well, you got to baste it by next week so I can get a better look of that. Okay.
This sleeve is fine.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
the one
it's
that's
folded up, nice. Because we added quite a lot. I wasn't sure if it was too much for you guys. But you
Sweet.
like it there, yeah. When it's, and the thing is, what we can also pin this closed,
that.
right? You want to overlap pin that closed before you put it on, because it's kind of
I
hard to have it on.
I
And
want
then,
that.
and then you can get a better idea what's going on, right? Yeah. Can I do a screenshot with you guys on it? All right. Come forward, Susie.
Shy.
Good. You look good. You look good. Awesome. All right. So, yeah, big accomplishment. Some tweaking that we're going to do. Okay. We'll just do some tweaking. But, do you want me now to explain the collar situation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So we can take it off. Okay. And, make sure all of that's basted so we don't waste any time. Okay. Um, I just didn't want any catastrophic situation that we're not addressing. So I think it's a little bit of tweaking here and tweaking there that we have to do. That's all. Okay. Let me explain the collar. Okay. So the collar, um, I cut all these pieces and I just had you cut. What's happened is, concentrate on what I'm saying because you're not going to be able to do it with me. And then you can make a little sample because I have to this day a little sample of a welt pocket that was done for me like a million years ago. So if I ever like forget, I just whip it out like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? This will be your little guide, okay? So I cut this out, everything twice, still straight grain. I put in my notches, boom, boom, boom. This is the collar. So the pivot point, you can see it's here. It would be here, boom. And then there's like a sharp pivot point here. But I'll do it on that pivots. Your little X's. There was a little close up, Bethany, of your X. These little circle guys are probably not right. I'm not really sure. But see how they go down, 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 because like if you go with the black line, then that's the circle. Just know that the X, it's still low. It's still in the wrong spot. The circle X should be no more than a half of an inch away. So that one it's slightly off. And like I said, I didn't, this was rushed during COVID. So we have to check that. So you can get the location of it, but you don't want to slash more than a half of an inch. This is the half of an inch mark, and I'll explain that in a minute on the jacket. But in order to get the same markings on this, you remember we did that before, but I'm going to reiterate. I'm going to take the jacket pattern, putting it over to the facing that I have underneath like that. And then I find my desired circle. My desired circle is the blue, so it's really here. I go like this. I put a pin through the center of that. See if I can go down further. Center of that. And when I do that, I get that little circle, and that's my little X on that. And then the same thing with this guy, and these guys are slightly off, I'm noticing. So that one and that one. It's just a guide to start with. Then, just so you have that for here. So that's how you transfer the pivot points or the slash marks from the main jacket to the facing. Okay, I'm gonna put that aside. Now,
So if they're too low, raise them at no more than half an inch.
so
from
if they're a little lower than they're supposed to be, but
Yeah.
you would never slash, that mark should be up towards a half of an inch, but just go up a little bit if it's a little low. So then I have two of these. Oh, I should have done, actually, I have to do four of these. So you need four of these guys in order to do this whole thing properly. Okay, so you first want to stay stitch the curves, just like you're doing any kind of sewing pattern. whether it's mine or anybody else's, you stay stitch the curves. That means a small stitch, a 2.5, no more than a 2.5, at the 1/2 inch mark, all the way around the curve. And I went all the way to close to that peak, right? On both sides of the lapel. And then I have the lapel guys kissing, they're facing each other. And then I get the neck facing, and I do the same thing, a 1/2 inch stay stitch. That's called a stay stitch, right? There. Then I'm going to put this piece to the shoulder on this piece. And I'm going to pin that guy here. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew it real quick. And then I'm kind of slicing that guy in there because I want to put this shoulder as well here. And I'm going to sew those two shoulders real quick, and I'll be right back. So now I have this sewn at the shoulder. Here's the lapels kissing. They're going towards the front like that. And these are my X's. You can see how low my X is. When I'm going, and those might be a little off too, I noticed, but I'm going to go ahead. Obviously, I have my stitch line as a guide, so I'm not going to go past my stitch line, but I'm going to go in that direction and give myself a slash. Are you able to see it? So
Yeah.
it's this way and a slash this way. The same thing on this side, a slash this way and a slash this way. Then, just to make it easier, I'm also going to do some clipping on this curved edge. But I'm not going to go past my sewing line. There's my center. I need that center as a guide, and I'm just going to slash. And you asked Susie, why do I have to do all that? Well, because you have a straight piece going into a curved piece. How is a straight piece going into a curved piece?
Yeah.
You answer your own question by slashing, and then you can just make that a straight piece, right? See that happen?
And that includes the slashes from the X's.
Yes, the two X's. And then I'm going to put here right sides together. Now, on the sleeve, on the collar again, you guys both did this boo-boo. This side has the notches. This side has no notches. What do we say about the side that has no notches? What part of the garment is that usually?
Usually outside.
You got it. Okay, so it's the outside of the garment. We know that's going to be sewn together. That's going to be the collar that's going to be sewn together. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put that aside, take one of these pieces.
Boy, I struggle with that so much.
Yes, now watch what's going on here. So I've got the center of this collar here, and the center of this collar goes to the center.
And obviously that piece would be double lined.
No, we're doing one piece at a time. You do one piece like that, and then you have to do the same thing again
Oh, and then you do, okay, never mind.
clean finish all of that, right? Right? Well, one part is a jacket and the other part is a facing, but we're doing both of them as a facing just as a little sample, so to speak, for you to have. And this could be something that you would do, and then you could have it in your little binder with all your other little samples, right? You did a lapel, so that would be another big achievement if you did that as well. So then I'm doing the center notch here at the center. And I'm pinning on the collar side, not the curved side, okay? So I'm pinning first up and down here at the center, right? And then, oh, let me do this. Let me do something before that, because you're not gonna know what's going on. I'm just gonna draw in the 1/2 inch seam allowance so you know where the pivot point is. See, this is the pivot point here. And this is the side of the collar. This is the side of the collar. And this is the pivot point that goes into the lapel. Okay? So that's the side. I'm going to go ahead and put a 1/2 inch in all the way around here, just so you can get an idea. of the edge of that. And then this is a half of an inch here. And then this is the side of the collar. Okay, so then now it might make more sense. I'm going to go back to the center notch, to the center of that facing, right? That's the center back of the necklines facing, boom. Put those two guys together. And then now there's a notch here. This notch is supposed to be your shoulder seam.
Yeah,
This notch here is your shoulder seam notch. So when I take this notch and I find my shoulder, it hits it nicely, right? It's right there. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and pin that. Is that making sense so far? This is where it gets tricky, so watch real close. I'm going to put a ton of pins because it's still curved, right? It's still going to be hard. And you have to be careful underneath when you're sewing. But I like to have the curved side still on the bottom when I'm sewing and just ripping it out if you have to over, in little areas that might bunch up. So a ton of pins, just like that. Here. And I'm going to go all the way around that collar and look what happens next, guys. Here is the first slash. That's exactly where this intersection is. See? Intersection. So that goes where that intersection is. Pin that like that. And then watch what happens. I'm going to flip this over like this. So I pivot all the way here. And again, pin, pin, pin. And the second slash is where it actually ends. So this is where the half of an inch would be sewn, right? If I folded that back, it would be where my slash mark is. That's where it ends. And this has to be really accurate, guys, because whatever you do on this top has to be exactly like the other one, because when you're matching them, they have to match just right. That's why if you're not used to the bias, make them both straight grain right now. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't worry about one being biased or anything like that. But I'm going to go on this side here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and pin, pin, pin. Put as many slash marks as I need to. And this notch is exactly at my shoulder, right? More or less, don't force it. If it doesn't want to, let it go where it needs to go, right? And then this intersection hits the first slash mark there, more or less. Let me trim this a little bit. I want another little slash going on here. So this goes here. And it doesn't, let's see. I want to move it over more. Like I said, one side has to be the same as the other because it's still the same paper pattern. And there we go for that. I'm moving it over because I want to hit that same exact spot. Just want to make sure it hits the same exact spot. So I'm going to move this guy over here. It could have been the way I took a little less on the shoulder. Maybe it wasn't exactly a half of an inch, and it's not. Because you said one side didn't fit better than the other, Susie. That's one of the reasons. And I think I'm going so fast that possibly this shoulder seam might be slightly less than a half of an inch, but more or less we're going to be okay, hopefully. If not, I would have to fix that, right? I would have to go in there and go, okay, is this measuring a half of an inch? It is more or less there, but it's an eighth of an inch off here, okay? So let me go ahead and fix that. And that's where you're gonna see one side, not exactly like the other side, and hopefully you will go slow and concentrate. And I'm gonna just make that exactly a half of an inch. Be right back.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have this.
Okay.
But then the final part is the sewing.
But that's for practice, you know, it takes a while. It's going to be kosher, okay? Open that guy up. And then it's going to fit nicely now. Again, what we're gonna do over here, what do we do with this part here? You guys remember?
We're folding it up.
No, you pivot
Yeah, like this.
here till you get to the peak part of the lapel, and that's folded back at that point, right? Where that other notch is, where this notch is. Okay? You want to stop sewing at the half of an inch mark. You don't necessarily fold it back, but I'm just folding it back to show you. Okay? But then it's right there. Yeah, it's tricky once you get both of them aligned. And then this is just all part of the sewing process. So this is the intersection right there. You see how the intersection, it's a little peak. That's where the slash is.
Yeah,
That needs to be sewn, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and sew that down. Okay. All right, so then I'm gonna put it on the here, kind of pins, right? I'm gonna go from that side. I'm gonna put my needle down right there at that intersection. You do have to back stitch there because you want the ends to be really secure, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and sew that at a half of an inch. And most likely it's gonna need some adjustment underneath. I'm going to that intersection. Want to make sure I catch it. I'm gonna pivot my machine. And you want to just be mindful of what's going on underneath, but no matter what you do, you can't be 100% sure what's going on underneath. You can always just take out portions that need to be taken out. Half of an inch all the way around. Sure my seam allowance is open when I'm doing this. Again, going to that pivot point, very crucial to catch because you slash there. It's very vulnerable if you don't sew just a hair beyond it. Then down. I'm going to end here at that half inch mark. Let's see if I achieved anything. Take these guys out. Did you do that? I guess you didn't do the pivot thing, right, Bethany?
I did more of a circular. I didn't know if you were sure.
Well, it's a pivot.
I'm just the
Yep.
fluffy ones.
And then, maybe the only thing that's happened is that, yeah, that's fine. So then when I open it up, let's see what I got going on. When I open it up, you should have a little corner like that. So now I'm gonna go to the iron so you can see it flat there. Oh, it's a peak lapel, right? So this is the peak lapel, and then it's going to match that when it's done proper. But you see how I have a sharp corner here? All lapels have that. Start looking at lapels and you will see that. Here it should be a sharp corner. Let me go ahead and get this to
It
engage.
didn't look like that at all.
Mine
Right.
either.
Your collar basically, both of your collars went all the way to here. That's why your lapel was that wide.
And I need to explain how I put the first one on completely upside down. It kind of worked.
My stitching is straighter than the stay stitching was, right? So that's,
Yeah.
we love that. You take out those little bastings. Here's the peak. Here's the collar. See how they're gonna kiss, right? And
Do
then
we do it twice?
I'm doing, okay. Why am I doing it twice?
Because you got to put the facing onto the jacket.
I want to show you how you would have to then do the same thing, and then these guys have to match.
Yeah.
This
You
is,
would reverse them and sew them together?
Bethany, I'm doing a sample. This is not the true jacket.
No,
The true jacket would have this for the facing, right? And then it will have the jacket connected with the other side of the jacket and the collar, right? But I'm just trying to do a mini version so you can understand how this is sewn in and how this guy's sewn in. Does that make sense? The jacket, okay? Here is the facing connected to the collar, right? And the front facing. This whole piece is right here,
okay.
right? So then the other side is the jacket.
And the jacket's sewn in the same way?
The collar sews to the neckline of the main jacket the same way.
Okay.
So this collar is sewn in the same way. Remember how I have a pivot point both, I have a pivot point on the facing and I have a pivot point in the exact location on the main jacket, right? So that's why that. So then you can see it's then sewn in there. So here's the collar. It's sewn in all the way to the edge. And then the peak is sewn in all the way to that edge. That makes sense. So the dilemma, Susie, is that this width, these 2 points have to be exact.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have to stop and start at the exact same spot. And if you didn't, you got to pull it off or extra so, and you got to tweak it and make sure it's perfect. Does that make sense?
That's essentially at the first notch of the slashes at the pivot point is where that first.
Yeah, so let me, so I have another collar piece and I have another facing piece. Okay, so now I have to go ahead and do again. What am I doing? What am I doing with that curve, guys?
Oh, you're going to mark your pivot point?
No, what do I do before that?
You're going to stay stitch the edge.
I'm gonna stay stitch a 1/2 inch on that curve. I already did it on this facing. Let me go ahead and stay stitch that and I'll be right back. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip at that intersection, going in this direction, clip in that intersection, going that direction. Same thing with this guy here. And then I'm going to clip around my neckline in the back facing, just like you would do it in the back. And here's my center notch. That's the center notch. Just like the shape of your neckline on your actual jacket, same thing. We're just making a little quickie. And just so you don't get this confused, make sure you have right sides to right side. This is the R. Here is the R. And also make sure that the lapels, look guys, lapels are facing to each other like this. They're not going like that, and one's not going this way and one's going that way. They're kissing. The lapels are kissing, and then you go ahead and you can put your facing in then at the shoulder, okay? So you don't get that confused. And I'll be right back. I'm going to sew that at a 1/2 inch. Again, is we're going to be putting, you got to put this guy back on here, but I'm going to go ahead and draw out those lines as well, just so you can see the pivot points here. And the pivot point is there. Now, I start at the back notch, which is right here. And I find the back notch of the collar, put that together. Pin these guys. Make sure they're just right. So this has to be just right, guys. This notch goes where?
To the shoulder seam.
Right. So I'm going to find the shoulder seam now first. And go ahead and put that guy in. And then I can maneuver the rest of it where it belongs. And then what are we doing at from here? We go all the way to this first slash. Which is where that slash is. And then we are doing what?
Pivoting.
Pivot. You got it. So we pivot. And let me just do this side so you can see where this collar ends. And I'm pivoting to where the end is. Let me just see where the end is. Should be there. It's not wanting to be exact. So let's put that where that belongs. Let's make sure this pivot is in the right spot. Might have to slash a little bit more. Just as long as you don't go past your sewing line with your slashes and your other pivoting. I'm going to get that back here. It's got to be right there at that intersection. Boom. Doesn't want to go there. Move that over a little bit. Kind of have to work with it because that's a curve, right? And then we're going to do this side. So did you learn something?
We're learning a lot.
Yeah. Class was good so far.
Yeah.
Okay. We just need to, this takes, this is something that you just, can't do in 5 minutes, so. Here we go. And then we've got that pivot point. Want to make sure I'm hitting the same pivot points. Boom. And then pushing this over here, releasing this. That's the shoulder. See how everything has to just line up so exact. So hopefully, hold my breath, going this fast that it works. Okay. Boom. I have a feeling that I had a different pivot point, but here we go. See how close we are. I'm going to clip this more to release that guy because I want things to line up. Okay, and then I'm going to get to the machine again. Just so that first pivot point. Thinking, adjusting. It's one of the few times you definitely need to pin. Not sure basting might also work. Making sure my seam allowance is laying flat. Okay. No. Okay. Hopefully they line up, because we don't have time. Take these pins, guys, out. See what we got going on. It's good. So we'll pinch there. Boom. Boom, we've got, that's fine. Just don't like this one pinch. Going to the pivot point. Let me go ahead and press it. All right, so the thing that you have to worry about, because you can get all that, is lining this up. And let me show you the lining up part. Okay. Right sides together, what you want to do then is line up your collar. So here, you take your collar, and sometimes there's also a notch, there's not a notch here on this side, but you can see that would be the centers too. You might want to put like a little clip there, the center, because then you can make sure that you don't stretch one collar from another. But here's the outer edge of the collar that you're going to sew together. And it starts off at that intersection. Okay, I didn't go far enough on that one. But you're going to sew these guys together here. You're putting the collar pieces with the outer part of the collar together. Like that. And here's the outer part of the collar like that. I have to redo this cleaner. Okay, so you have that whole outer edge of the collar. Should match. And then you've got the lapel. And this is where it gets tricky, but you have to then, you see on this side, I think it's the right spot. Can you see there where they should be, those two seams are matching, the top is matching the bottom at that intersection. So you're sewing as far as you can, pushing that seam allowance away when you do it. Going in this direction. Okay, and you sew boom all the way around here, all the way around, all the way till you get to this intersection. I just didn't go far enough over it on this intersection. I'll have to do that. But then after you sew this outer collar all the way to the intersection where it hits what? The peak. Here's the peak. And you're not folding, you're not sewing that folded, you're sewing it just the two pieces to that intersection like that. Then you move that away and you take the lapel pieces and you're going to match those. You want to try to match that peak first, get that stationed. And this is where I was saying, Susie, that you don't want to start from the bottom and go up. You're starting from the top and go down on both sides. So I'm going to go here and should have had that other camera on, shoot. You're starting, so after I've sewn that here where it needs to, let me take that pin out so I can show you. Then you're going to flip that back like that. And you've got to put these two together to sew there, starting from here on the peak.
So nothing ever crosses, it's just everything meets at the peak.
Everything meets there. Seam allowance doesn't double back. You move it out of the way. You move it out of the way. And then you go ahead and sew from the peak all the way here. And then all in one swoop, you're going to pivot your machine and sew down the lapel of the jacket like that, all the way down here.
Okay.
And then this will be your little guide,
Okay.
right? Is that making sense?
I think
And then you have to, flip it over and when you do so, and you've got this peak here, you've got this very, very sharp angle, right? You know when you do corners like this, after you sew the 1/2 of an inch, you're going to trim all of this to a 1/4 of an inch here. And then you're going to trim all of this side all the way up to the collar. Leave the 1/2 of an inch at the collar, but trim all the way here, this way, and this way. And then when you get to this peak, this is the point, right? Here's the point. You're going to trim straight across.
Okay.
You don't keep the peak. You cut across about 1/4 of an inch away. And then so this will be the cutting line, to trim so that you're able to turn that. And then you got to have something like this, something to turn it, you know, in the inside, and you have to play with that point. But then after you do that, when you turn it all inside out, you will have, you know, the collar, the facing, and the lapel. And if you do that peak just right, hopefully, when it's done, you can see they're sort of wanting to kiss. They do want to come together. So they will come together a little bit better that way. But there's your,
Okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
we got homework.
yeah, I want you to do this.
Makes sense.
Sorry, if you feel comfortable doing this, then touch your jacket, but please don't touch your jacket.
And now we're gonna do this. We'll do this.
Yeah, I'd rather you do this, and then if you figured it out, then you can touch your jacket. But I kind of want to get most of the fit, and I'm not sure if the lapel being sewn wrong is
Yeah, yeah.
affected too much, right?
Oh, yeah, this is good.
Yep, good.
Sounds good.
Yep, bravo, better.
Okay,
Next week. All right, you guys have been great.
thank
All
you.
right. Bye. Thank you.
You know, okay, thank you. Have a
Bye.
good weekend. Bye.